Alright, look, I'm a big enough boy to admit when I've made a mistake, and on November 12th, I made a big one. I did a quest guide which is seemingly, in terms of a tiny channel like mine, kind of blown up out of nowhere, and I opened it up with something that I genuinely regret saying. If you're anything like me, you don't like the ice wall grenade, or whatever it's called. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It looked cool in the trailers and the promos, but in practical application, I absolutely hate it with every inch of my body. Glacier. The Glacier Grenade. That's what it's called. I hate it so much I couldn't even remember its name. I'm just gonna go ahead and admit it. I was wrong. I had my reasons, but I was completely ignoring the entire point of Stasis to begin with. Glacier is not bad, not by a long shot. It may even be one of the best grenades Stasis has to offer, but at first it has no real practical application for damage, and that is what put a bad taste in my mouth. Mostly because when I throw a grenade, I kinda like it when it, blows up. Either way, Glacier is key here for what we're talking about today. That and a combination of other mods that I've flapped my gums about on this channel countless times already. So sit back, get comfy, because I'm going to show you how to turn trash into treasure with Stasis. Before anything else, we're starting with aspects and fragments. These are what make this possible to begin with. First up, Shatterdive. Activate while midair to quickly descend and shatter nearby targets on impact. So in case anybody doesn't already know, let me just explain it real quick. Stasis creates ice crystals. Who'd have thought it, right? When you shatter those crystals, they explode and deal big damage to targets around them, seemingly even more so to targets that are already frozen. Each crystal can be detonated individually, but Shatterdive detonates them all within a radius around the player when they hit the ground. This essentially makes every stasis crystal around you a landmine, and you are the detonator. If that weren't enough, we've also got two fragments here that are going to give it a little bit of spice. First up, Whisper of Shards. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional crystals will increase the duration of this benefit. Going back to what I was saying a moment ago, each of those crystals is no longer a mere landmine. Now it's a discipline buff. This is where Glacier comes in handy, because you can create your own crystals with it and detonate them for large amounts of damage while simultaneously boosting your recharge rate. This allows you to throw another grenade even faster, continuing the shatter damage circle. The last one on this list is Whisper of Fissures.
Fisher.
I genuinely regret searching for how to pronounce this word. This increases the damage and size of the blast when you shatter a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen enemy. This one doesn't really need any explaining. It's an increase to damage and blast radius, made specifically to synergize with Glacier, Shatterdive, and Whisper of Shards. You've got a lethal ability triangle right here. So we got the aspects and the fragments out of the way, whoop-de-goddamn do. But where do we go from here? We go to exotics. That's where we go. You'll never hear me mention this disgusting exotic ever again, mostly because I absolutely hate the way that it looks, but the Frosty Fives are an absolute must-have for what we're doing here. Let's discuss for a moment. Almost all of our stats took a nerf in some way, either big or small, as a result of this DLC. Because of this, low-end discipline tiers are no longer as reliable as they were 2 weeks ago. Rapid cooldown dramatically increases the cooldown speeds of your abilities, including your grenade. Now, combine that with Whisper of Shards, and you have 2 discipline modifiers nearly at all times, turning a cooldown of, say, I don't know, 1 minute and 20 into around 30 seconds. The benefit here is too good to miss. We will talk about Salvation's Grip here in just a second, and while it does synergize wonderfully with what we're trying to do here, it's not essential, so if you don't have it yet, it's not the end of the world. Mods are the second most important part of a build, and if I didn't talk about them, I'd straight up look like an amateur, and this ain't my first rodeo, so start taking some notes. We're taking 3 stacks of firepower. This is so we constantly have a grenade ready at all times. Rapid cooldown is great and all, and so is Whisper of Shards, but when you're building around shatter damage and you have grenades that create stasis crystals, it's a wise decision to slot mods for it too. On top of firepower, you're taking quick charge as well. Quick successive kills with shotguns will keep your charges up and your grenade cooldown half full after every throw, cutting the time required for both Whisper and rapid cooldown in half. It'll also prevent you from sprinting around in circles like a toddler with 10 pounds of sugar and a super soaker just to keep your grenade off cooldown. Firepower is there for a reason, trust me. You don't have to bring taking charge, I do it anyway, it's just habit for me at this point. If your discipline is low, I recommend slotting a few mods to compensate for it. If all you can fit are minor discipline discipline mods, then that's fine. Just try to keep your stat above tier 5 if you want the most optimal experience here. If you want to get real spicy with it, you can take Bomber as well, though that's another mod that isn't really all that necessary. We're going to talk about heavy weapons before I close this out. You've got two viable options here. You've got Tractor Cannon, which is really only used to aid the damage of the initial detonation of said grenade. Stasis does not overlap the Tractor Cannon debuff to the best of my knowledge. Allegedly. It looks like I see some crits in there, but it also looks like I see some white numbers as well. Honestly, I can't be too sure. Or at least that's how it seems. Honestly, it's kind of hard to tell with all the particle effects going nuts on my screen every time I Shatterdive. The next one would be Salvation's Grip. That can be used in the event that your grenade just isn't cooling down fast enough, or you want to boost your shatter potential as much as physically possible. There are pros and cons to both. I personally lean towards Tractor Cannon for the damage increase. While targets are not frozen, mind you, Shatterdive doesn't actually deal any more damage than just slapping a crystal, but the advantage comes from detonating all of them in a radius. It's very effective at clearing crowds. Salvation's Grip is the more conservative choice. You're not here for damage, you're here for control. If your grenades somehow manage to fail you, you've got a stasis launcher to freeze everything. Essentially, it's a plan B in the event that everything that can go wrong magically goes wrong and you find yourself up Trash Creek without a bag. This is still a bit of a work in progress. I've been making modifications to all 3 of the new builds that I've been working on, one for each new subclass at the moment. You can expect many more of my dumb gimmick build videos in the coming weeks, as I've secretly been preparing for these builds for nearly a month now, so they were all technically done, quote unquote, before Beyond Light even launched. If you guys find a better mod combo or an exotic, feel free to yell at me in the comments about it or whatever. You'd be amazed at the amount of things that I tend to overlook. But you guys know the drill. I'll be in my cell if anybody needs me.